Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast, where we focus our lens on business. We will cover the art of business and everything in between. Join your host, Rob Moorman, a seasoned photographer and RV park owner with over 27 years of experience, as he captures insights from industry experts and fellow entrepreneurs. From mastering customer service to igniting creativity, we explore the common threads that weave through successful businesses. Get ready to click, snap, and discover on the Camera Dude Podcast.
All right. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, wherever it is you're listening to. Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast. My name is Rob Moorman, and I am your host, the Camera Dude. Hang out with us today to discuss all things business and life. So our guest today is awesome, handsome, gorgeous, has the most beautiful hair in the world. Okay, wait, take that back. I'm doing a solo podcast, so I am the guest today. Why a solo podcast? Well, actually, in my thoughts, it's because I haven't had an opportunity to introduce myself to you as a podcaster. And why is it that I have a podcast oriented around business based on my background in photography and RV park ownership? So let's dive into that. But before we do, I want to give you a self-introduction even. So my family is awesome. We have a small family, okay? So my wife and I have been married for 28 years. I'm blessed to be married to her every day. I see her face, and I'm just amazed that that big heart of hers and how smart she is, and she still sticks around with me. So that's a blessing to know. We have no fish. I'm just kidding. We have fish. We have fish tanks. There's tons of them. So that's my hobby. We'll talk about that later. We have a pet, our dog Bailey, and we also have a 150-gallon fish tank, and in that fish tank is a fish named Pinky. She's about, 12 inches long, maybe 11, and she is a cichlid, and I have a plecostomus in there that is 13 inches, and those guys have been with me a very long time. The plecostomus is probably 20 years old. He's part of our family. So no kids, couldn't have any, and, we just ended up never adopting after praying about it and kind of diving into it. Next thing we knew, we were older and running businesses, and that was the life God had for us. I think He has a sense of humor because at our photography studio, we photograph around 3,000, maybe 4,000 kids a year. So God gave us plenty of kids, just in a different way. And we get to see those kids from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade and really get to know them doing their school pictures, their spring pictures, sports photographs at all the different schools we're at. So that's a good thing. What else about me? I'm a St. Petersburg native, born and raised, been in St. Pete my entire life. So 58 years. Yes, I am that old, and very excited. We love the Burg, and we love being part of a city that is hustle and bustle, and it's almost like a city within a city. If you head to downtown St. Pete, it's a whole nother world. I live in the suburbs over in the Tyrone area, and that is a whole nother world. It's like two different cities, but yet it's not. So that's a neat place to live, and we're excited to see all the growth that's taken place there and glad to be a part of it. So education, why do I have a podcast, and where does that put me? I have a 2-year vocational degree in commercial photography, and I did 2 years in that and competed in the Skills Olympics. Back then it was called the Vocational Industrial Clubs of America, and was blessed to make it to a national competition. I didn't come in first, second, and third at nationals. I did at local and regionals, but I did come in 12th in the nation as a student competing against other photographers in our craft. So that was a lot of fun. After school was out, it took a little longer schooling, by the way, because I spent time doing these competitions, but it made me a better photographer. It really taught me to pay attention to details and not let things slip in the background, if you will, because then the quality of the images would kind of be degraded. So with all the quality I was forced to put into them, all the attention to detail, made me a better photographer, and to this day I still use those skills. After my 2 years of schooling, I did a 1-year internship with a master photographer. His name, I've mentioned on this podcast before, was Bruce Evanson. Bruce Evanson owned a studio in St. Petersburg, and that studio is still running today, owned by a friend of mine, and she is carrying on his legacy for over 40 years. That studio has been in business now. And that internship, for all you new entrepreneurs out there, was the best thing I ever did. I ate dirt for a while. I got out of school, went to him. He had a small business and said, hey, I can't really afford you, but I will teach you everything I know. You've got to commit to me to 12 months. So I did. I did a 1-year internship full-time without pay, and that's when I learned. School set me up. It gave me knowledge of cameras and equipment, but the internship opened the door to understand the other side of photography, the business of photography, client retention, client satisfaction, product. And I learned from my mentor what to do. And occasionally I would stand there and go, I would have handled that very differently. So I also learned what not to do. I'm still in touch with my mentor today. We talk all the time. And he spends his time fishing most of the time these days. So that's kind of a neat way to enter into an industry that I really didn't know much about, but I fell in love with it. So I also have a 28-year membership in the Florida Professional Photographers. I have attended every year except for one my whole career because I had the flu. Actually, I went there and then went home because I developed the flu the first day. And that convention every year holds it's like 12 seminars a day back then. And I would attend all of those seminars, continuing my education amongst professional peers taught by photographers from all over the world, actually. And they also have throughout the year continuing educational seminars. And so that has been a backup of my schooling. Now, I also am a member of the, let's go into memberships. We'll do that. I'm a member of the Tampa Area Professional Photographers Association. I'm blessed to say I'm past president of the organization. If you're in the Tampa Bay area and you're a photographer, go to tappa.org. I highly recommend being involved in a community of photographers that are focusing on doing this for a living. It's wonderful. It sets you apart. The knowledge, the camaraderie, the help from each other, and all the seminars are fantastic. So I recommend that. I'm a member of the Florida Professional Photographers as well that I mentioned earlier, FPP Online. It's either .org or .com. And I recommend being a member of that and being active as well as the local guild. So the Florida photographers, just due to COVID, has shrunk in size a little bit, but that's not a negative. The last convention I went to was phenomenal. I had personal time with some of my peers, and the educational value I got just having dinner with someone, opening my door and mind to the way they do business, and also sharing what I do with them is priceless. It's the in-between seminars networking that almost builds your business more than the actual seminars. However, the seminars are very vital. So also a member of Professional Photographers of America, PPA.com. I highly recommend PPA.com. It not only do you get all the benefit of education and a huge convention every year, there's 30,000-ish members in PPA. It's the oldest, longest standing, and largest professional photography association worldwide. And to not be a part of that doesn't make sense. So just because it's been around a long time doesn't mean it's not modern. It's actually extremely modern and has changed with the times. That's why it's been here so long. So I recommend membership. By the way, membership gets you free legal assistance up to a certain dollar amount, and also I think insurance coverage, if I recall right. So go online, ppa.com, check them out. Those associations that I just mentioned, I would be out of business if I was not members of those. That is what built my business from A to Z. As you heard in my educational part, I don't have a college degree in business. I have a vocational degree in professional photography, and I learned business by skinning my knees a lot, which is kind of my qualification for a podcast. And we'll talk about that in a little while. Other memberships, the Florida Alabama RV Park Owners and Managers Association. There's a national organization that you should be a part of, and then there's the local guild for Florida and Alabama. Just got back from their convention, very educational, talking about industry standards and sales and marketing and online booking platforms. There's a trade show. So if you own an RV park and or have a service that you could offer RV parks, their trade show is the place to be. So, reach down in the comments here and we'll touch base with you and get you connected to them. I love it because when I go to their convention, my two businesses come together, Moorman Photographics and Sunburst RV Resort. Well, while I'm at the convention learning how to run my RV park and getting updated information, I'm also photographing their convention at the same time. So it's kind of neat to see that. I'm also part of Network Professionals International, NPI. NPI.org, I think it is. And if you go to NPI, you'll see what it's about. It is a networking group. I joined NPI in the North Pinellas chapter area in 1999. I've been 8, 10, I don't know, a long time. And South Pinellas in the Sunrise chapter, I moved to that chapter later in my tenure there. And networking is important. And we're part of the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber, which is a wonderful group as well. I find it very active. So what else about me? Accolades. I have, through the Florida Photography Association, all of the ones I'm about to mention are through that group, the Florida Degree of Photographic Excellence. That was earned by entering competitions against my peers in professional photography. Now, it's not a simple little competition where you get a ribbon like you would see at the State Fair photo competition. This is a very in-depth with a panel of 3 people and a moderator in a dark room with a monitor judging portraits, and actually all genres of photography entered into specific categories. And I've been blessed to earn enough print merits, awards, and ribbons to earn the photographic degree of excellence. Florida education degree just means that I went to enough seminars and conventions to have earned merits to reach the Florida education degree, and that has helped me in my career. And by the way, once I got the degree, I wasn't done. I still attend every year, and I still learn. It's very vital. The Florida Service Award just means I served on a bunch of committees in the association and won enough or earned enough merits for that. So we received the 2011 Florida Memorial Award through the Florida Professional Photographers. That was unexpected to me. I was sitting at the black tie dinner at the end of the event, and all of a sudden I hear my name, and I'm like, for what? What? And not even close. So I was surprised by that. But they awarded me for my service to the association, and I was honored. That hangs on the wall in my office, and it makes me smile because I love the people in this industry and what it's about, and I'm glad to serve there. Let's see. I achieved a lifetime membership for the Tampa Area Professional Photo Association. That just means I paid dues for a really long time. And then I'm a recipient of 2 Image of Excellence Awards through Professional Photographers of America. It's not a lot. I know people that have 60, 70, 80. I took a hiatus in competing at the national level for about 10 years to help settle a family estate. It's a long story. But I can tell you that once I started competing again, I got the bug, and so now we're competing every year to work towards my master's degree at a national level. And that's me. So what about me? My early work life. You might find this interesting. I don't know. We'll see. I worked at a travel agency of all places. My father owned it. It was called Fantasy Star Travel in Zephyr Hills, Florida. I traveled from St. Pete to Zephyr Hills on a daily basis in summers and between school. I was still in high school and was a tour guide on a bus, taking these funny old ladies to go play bingo and singing songs and carrying on in the bus, getting them there and back. It was a lot of fun. I worked at Treasure Island Divers. I was an assistant in the dive shop. I did sales. I did equipment repair, and I was a first mate on the boat quite often when we would go out to help with dive mastering and so on. I've been self-employed after that in the motion picture industry for 10 years, working on rather large jobs that were for HBO and large commercials with huge budgets, 150-man crew and things like that. I was working behind the scenes as a production assistant, moved my way into actually driving trucks in the film industry, and that was never a goal, but I ended up getting my commercial driver's license and spending time behind the wheel because the pay was 4 times the amount as a production assistant. I made really good money doing that. And oddly enough, my first business, other than being a production assistant and driver, was D&R Craft Services. stands for Dave and Rob. We provided a form of food on motion picture sets. You have a caterer who does 3 hot meals a day, and then craft service is similar to, let's say you go to a Super Bowl party and there's a spread. That's up and running the entire time they're filming because people in the film business work 12, 18 hours a day, and they really need food or maybe a Tylenol. None of it's sold. They give you a budget, you go shopping, you fill the truck, you put the food out in a safe, presentable way, and people come through the craft service setup on a regular basis to just, take care of themselves because they're working so many hours. So that was kind of neat. In that industry, I finished out working with a company in Orlando and just decided it was time for a change. I got burned out, got really tired. They work 12, 18 hours a day, and when they're not working, they hang out, drink, and talk about work. And so it was fun. I loved it. I miss the creative aspect. I don't miss the hours by any means. Even though I'm a business owner, I work a lot. Nothing like that. So hobbies. All right, now we can talk about all of that. Most importantly, I like hanging out with my wife. We do a lot of different things. I have a small 17-foot motorboat named after my photography. It's called the Shooter. That's a nickname for photographers. We like to go kayaking, scuba diving, bicycle riding. High-end home audio gear is a hobby of mine. And aquarium fish keeping. We travel, we do art galleries, and so much more. We love getting around and doing things. And yes, photography is my pro job, but when I'm on vacation, I love getting up for first light and getting beautiful images of a place that maybe motivates me. So that's where that goes. So guys, let's take a quick message from our sponsor.
Are you ready to escape the hustle and bustle of the city and experience a taste of old Florida? Welcome to Sunburst RV Resort, your oasis nestled in tranquil woods and surrounded by picturesque farmland. At Sunburst, we offer modern amenities with a touch of rustic charm. Enjoy our 2 pools, our clubhouse, our game room. It's perfect for families and winter guests seeking refuge from everyday life. With full RV sites and hookups, cozy cabins, and spacious tent sites, there's something for everyone. Whether you're a snowbird seeking solace or a family looking for summer fun, Sunburst is your destination for peace, quiet, and country living. And the best part? We're just an easy country hour away from beautiful beaches and a few minutes away from the majestic Blackwater River. Explore nearby quaint towns, indulge in some shopping, and savor delicious meals at local restaurants just a scenic drive away. Escape to Sunburst RV Resort and make memories that'll last a lifetime. Book your stay now and experience the beauty of old Florida.
The heart of the recording, well, that's what this is about right now. Why do I qualify for a podcast, especially one oriented around business? Well, as I've mentioned earlier, I'm the owner of Moorman Photographics for over 28 years now. You can visit us at moormanphoto.com to find out more about what we do. Moorman Photo is a full-service professional photography studio. After vocational school, I started a small business and grew to where we have a brick-and-mortar building and do several genres of professional photography. To me, full-time professional photography means I can provide service in almost any realm or genre of photography, anytime, anywhere, any situation, any light, any client need can be handled because we've studied and known and have gotten all these years of experience in the industry. So we do commercial and product photography. We do recently photographed cables for a company that makes cables worldwide and sells them, some in the military and some in the RV and boating industry and audio industry, and they produce them right in-house, and we did product images for them. After that photo shoot, I was on the beach doing a family portrait the same day. So you get the idea of food, photography, product, family portraits, corporate events. The one thing I don't do, well, I stopped doing weddings. I love them. I did over 500 of them, but I wanted some Saturdays back in my life to spend with my wife, and that's what we do now. So looking at that, it's important. So my second business, well, I am now owner of Sunburst RV Resort. It is in Milton, Florida, in the panhandle of Florida at that, sunburstrvresort.com. And it's a wonderful 21-acre park. It's a taste of old Florida with modern amenities. And I knew nothing about park ownership, and I knew nothing about the fact that maybe I would be owning a park one day. My father had passed, and boom, all of a sudden there was a park in my lap. So I learned a lot by joining the association and jumped in with both feet and met many of my peers in that industry. And what brought this podcast to light was that I realized that in business, there are so many similar things that a business operator will do, no matter what service or widget that they're selling, has to do to stay in business. And I realized that we have that in common, even if our businesses are totally opposite. So the heart of this podcast came from that, because I'll walk into a business now that I own two, and sometimes I cringe. I'm like, what is happening? These guys aren't going to make it, and I want to help them because you can see it. And other times you walk in and it's a smooth operation, and I'm like, okay, that's something to podcast about right there. So anyhow, that's why this came to fruition. It's a place really for business owners to connect and hear different aspects of business to help all of us in our business journey, so that you know. I'm not a business guru. Said I wasn't going to use that word, but I kind of like it. Rather, someone who is struggling through the day-to-day business operation, guys. And so, yeah, when you own businesses, you spend your time putting out fires all day so that customers are happy. So if things are happening in the background and you need to cut it off at the pass before it gets to the client, that's what you do. And so it's really putting out fires and providing customer service and finding ways to have less fires through systems, through communication and workflow. And that's what we want to talk about. So working in two industries has just been that, guys. It's what's wanted me to share this podcast with you and kind of go from there. So let's talk about the photography industry. What do you think of that, huh? That's what we're going to do. All right, photography is a business, but it's also a hobby. So it's one of those industries, a lot like music. You can be a professional musician that travels the world playing to stadiums of 50,000 people. You can be somebody that works in a recording studio. You can be somebody that plays music at establishments out on the beach all weekend and have a good time with that. You can be the guy that maybe plays at church professionally, but it's not your actual job. Or you could be strumming a guitar at your campfire. It goes with everyone, and photography is a lot like that. So to differentiate myself, I got involved in those associations mentioned earlier so that I could learn and set myself apart in an industry that could be clouded and misunderstood. People go, oh, you have a camera, you're a photographer. Well, not really. You know, there's a lot behind doing it full-time as a profession. And I'm not knocking the hobbyists. I love hobbyists. I used to teach to them at the Moorman Art Center on Central Avenue. If you want to learn photography, they're still running classes there, and I recommend going there here in St. Petersburg, okay? And I loved them. They were wonderful. But to do it for a full-time living, it takes a whole nother level of energy and concentration to, my feet hit the ground. And the first thing I think of in the morning is, how am I going to satisfy my clients, get new clients, and open myself up to build my business every day? It's 80% business, 20% photography. I teach that in my classes to those that want to go pro. You have to fall in love with business practices. You just do. So if you don't, you're going to slip. And so the key is, it's just as creative as being a photographer. Finding ways to network, finding ways to creatively get your word out of what you do and your logo out and so on. And it's a lot of fun if you dive into it. So that's the thing. Setting yourself apart from others by becoming educated in the craft and becoming a craftsman at it. Don't just buy a camera, put it in automatic, and start marketing. If you understand f-stops and shutter speeds and depth of field and stopping action, blurring action, lighting patterns, gosh, there's Rembrandt light and fill light and broad light and split light and butterfly lighting, and I could go down the list. And if you're not learning all of these, and there's many more, by the way, that's just a brief overview, that doesn't set you up to be a photographer for whoever calls you if you want to learn and earn a living. So you've got to dive in and really learn your craft, and it has to become secondary, like a musician. I've always said, these musicians, if you think of a famous rock star, he's doing a face-curling, ripping guitar solo, and he's leaning over talking to the bass player while he's doing it about what's for dinner on the tour bus when they get off. And he did all those muscle memory motions without thinking about it. Well, you have to become that way with your camera as well, okay? Not like a new guitar player who gets a C chord and strums and then moves to another chord and strums, and there's minutes in between. Sure, you have to start somewhere, but you need to get to where the tech isn't what you're thinking about. It's expression, composition, lighting, exposure, backgrounds. What is the client wearing, and how are you going to produce this image? And then you sit down at your instrument as a photographer and manipulate it the way you need it in a second nature kind of a state in order to get the job done. So, yes, that's what you need to do to be a professional. If you're not doing that, you're leaving money on the table as a professional photographer / business owner because you're not able to provide photography anytime, anywhere, any place, any lighting situation, because maybe you don't have the knowledge in that. So I'm not knocking anybody. I never would do that. That's in the beginning stages. Reach out to me. All right, you can email me easy. So cameradude1@gmail.com. You can find me at the cameradudepodcast.com, and I would love to sit down with you or do a Zoom, and we can talk about how to get in the right direction for you. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it. That's always been my saying. All right. So what separates us from other studios? Well, we operate like a business and not a hobby passion, which I kind of hit on just a little bit already. I see this in my notes, but it's that way. The difference between me and my hobby friends that do it is when they get home from work and their job, they go online and they surf the internet and they're looking up their favorite cameras and their favorite lenses. When I go home, I don't want to think about photography. I've thought about it all day. I'm cooking on the barbecue grill and hanging out with my wife because it's my job. And usually I've worked a long day by the time we get to that point. So that's the difference in it, is that's what they do to get away. And that's what I do to present myself to the world as a business owner, is professional photography. So that's a difference. And I'm not dissing them. That's a great group. And actually, sometimes they're really well researched on modern equipment. So I'll call my hardcore hobby friends and go, hey, what do you think of this camera? And they'll have everything to memory about it. And I don't, because I'm too busy working. I don't research. I don't have time. And so that's it. Keeping up with technology and our clients' wants and needs. That's another level. So I just bought 2 Nikon Z8 cameras. Love them. They're fantastic. I think it's 51 megs a picture every time I click the shutter. And the focusing technology in them is fantastic. And the image file size is great. Now, as a pro, I don't chase tech. I'm not buying new technical equipment every time they come out with a new camera, because that's every 6 months. Can't stay in business with that. But what I am doing is, the second I can no longer provide a file size that a client requests, that tells me I need to upgrade my camera equipment. So I might use my cameras for 4 to 5 years before I update them. Clients don't know. The only people that judge you for the modernness of your photography equipment are other photographers. I love them. Most of them are my friends, but I can tell you they don't pay me, so it doesn't matter. I'm keeping that money in my pocket, paying off the cameras I have, and then putting fluid money in my pocket, if you will, in my studio business account by using those cameras way past their time. They're safe, they're reliable, they get worked on, I ship them in. So none of that is a problem. It's just a matter of not buying a new camera every 6 months and going broke at $6,000, $3,000 a piece, not counting lenses or anything else. So that's it. All right, guys. So I have a couple closing questions that I ask everybody else, and I'm going to lay this out for you. But at the end of the podcast, I want to do one more thing. I almost forgot it. Forgive me. The state of the RV park industry. So I got in this industry by accident, and something that struck got me giddy, actually, was that it was a recession-proof industry. I was told that over and over again, and it kind of is. So when COVID hit, my park was full. We didn't do anything different. It was full with a waiting list of 50 people to get in, and it stayed that way for about 3 years. Because it was, I don't want to like the word COVID safe, but let's say if you're a family and you dwelled in a home, you didn't have to wear masks together because you lived in the same household. Well, having an RV is the same thing. And the RV spaces are far enough apart that you're social distant. So during that time, it gave families an opportunity to be outside, have a campfire, cook on a grill, be away from other people, but yet be in that park. We also found that RV parks helped people that maybe lost everything, their home, and moved into their RV. So it provided a shelter for them and a place for them to be so that they weren't on the streets during this time. They moved into their RV or found one for a lot less, and it helped remove some of that financial burden from them during that time. So RV parks are great also for workers. We get road workers, paper mill workers, and people that travel a lot, traveling nurses actually, and they stay in our park quite often. And then you have your snowbirds who come in to get away from snow, and your homeschoolers that are young families homeschooling their kids, working out of an RV and living out of an RV. They might spend 3 to 6 months in an area and travel on while they're working. And so 42% of RVers are millennials now. So it's not just grandma and grandpa with the road atlas. It's a younger group. And it's totally morphing into a whole new world of business for us. The industry after COVID, sales dropped a little bit. And it panicked everybody in the industry from what I'm seeing on the forums and other social media pages where RV park owners are getting together. Are your sales down? Yeah, mine are down. What's going on? Well, the final consensus is about 2 years after COVID, people were still a little hesitant. They finally laid down the fear, and they're getting on airplanes and going to Spain and traveling abroad and doing things that they couldn't do during that time. So the consensus is RV is coming back, and it's coming back pretty strong, and it's already starting to come back as we speak. And so there's no concerns there. People just parked their rigs and traveled in other ways because they couldn't for so long. So that's the state of that industry. It's a wonderful business full of fantastic people. And I always recommend getting in. So final things. NOI, okay? ROI, actually, rate of investment in your property is simply this. RV park is the number 2 business to purchase to get the most return out of a piece of property. Number 1 is self-storage. So if you're looking at investing in an RV park, know that it's a business that never sleeps. It's got to be run 24/7. You've got to have the right people, the right employees, the right customer service, and a beautiful-looking property all the time in order for it to be successful. So it's not easy business, but it's a solid business to get in. And it really does benefit you if you're a property owner to do that. Now, to build a park takes a long time. So don't think, we'll build a park, it's easy. No, the getting everything through the codes department and approved and having drawings made up and all the things that are needed to start from scratch is kind of complicated. And it's a 3 to 5 year process at times to get a finished product up and running. And then it's another 3 to 5 years to make it successful. So know that it's an investment. I use a management company at my RV park, and it's helped bring us into the future, if you will, and make the business stronger faster. Because, yes, I have 2 businesses that are far apart from each other physically, and so that's what it took. So, guys, thanks for jumping in on this. I hope it was beneficial for you, and I'm going to ask myself these questions. What is your favorite word? You know, I thought about this, and I don't really have one. I think I like to eat, so I'm going to say food. I'm just saying right now, if you say tacos, I'm right there. I'm all about it. So what is your least favorite word? Cliche. Everybody says it, but I hate the word hate. Can't stand it. So that's it. What turns me on? I love this one. Passionate people. People that are down doing something and they're hardcore about it. So I worked in the scuba diving industry, and the hardcore, high-tech cave divers, deep divers, guys going 200 feet, breathing on mixed gases, nitrox, and so on. Those guys, they were all about it. Musicians, they're always all about it. Photographers, always all about it. Artists, painters, people like that are just sold out for what they love. That turns me on and motivates me in my craft, watching them do what they do in theirs. What turns me off? Unmotivated people, just the opposite of what I just mentioned. I was at a car wash today and watching this kid work, and I wanted to pull him aside as a father figure and say, look, get some passion into this, because the boss is never going to give you a raise because of the way you're moving around today. And I watched him with a blower blowing the parking lot off, and I could have done a better job with a straw in my breath because he just didn't care. And I thought, if you want, because a lot of times you get in that job and you think, this is temporary, what do I care? No, the fact is, if you give it your all, the boss will promote you, talk about you, and when you leave, think of the kudos he's going to give you as a reference when you go up to move up to your next job. So that turns me off to see that because it saddens me. I'm thinking, you guys are missing the boat. Jumped in the game already. So what sound or noise do you love? I absolutely love music. It's phenomenal. I love the sound my dog makes when she's playing. I wrestle with her all the time, little Bailey. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see plenty of pictures of her because we don't have kids, so it's a little disgusting how much we share of our dog. But that's the way it is. The sound I dislike, believe it or not, is sirens and horns because it usually constitutes there's an emergency somewhere. This is a personal thing I do. Some people pray, some don't. I'm not here to shove that down your throat. But when I see an ambulance or hear one, I throw up a quick prayer because there's the person that's injured, the person driving, the medical staff in there, and then the staff when they get to the hospital or whatever. And I thank God first that it's not me. And then I say, hey, whoever's involved in this, help all the people involved. It's very brief. I say it. I think it's a 3-second prayer. But that's how it happens. All right, what sound? Oh, I did that. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? I love to teach, fascinated by that, and I think I could have been an outside salesperson, spending my time in trade show booths and networking and all of that. I love it. What would I not like to do? I would not want to be a dentist. I'm grateful for my dentist, and I love them. They're awesome. But I can tell you that I don't want to stick my hands in people's mouths all day long. As a photographer, I've had the option of photographing a birth and a couple of times, and that's neat. But these OBs that do that, gotta love them, but that's awful messy and kind of yucky. So no, that's another job I wouldn't want to do. So guys, thanks for hanging out with me on my solo podcast. I hope it was helpful in understanding who we are and also hearing a little bit about the industries I'm in. And that's important, guys. Remember, always reach out to those that have paved the way ahead of you for success. They are a great resource. Until the next one, stay safe, be peaceful, and always look up for directions in life. Catch you on the next Camera Dude podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Camera Dude Podcast. Don't forget to visit us at cameradudepodcast.com for more episodes and exclusive content. Connect with Rob Moorman on MoormanPhoto.com to explore his professional photography. And when you're ready to hit the road, make memories at SunburstRVResort.com. Until next time, keep capturing moments and chasing dreams. See you on the next episode of the Camera Dude Podcast.